that security code, the 3-digit code on most cards, and they write that down in the order that they swipe, and then they bring up your transaction, and they come back with the correct amount, and nothing's done with your ticket. It goes through the bank as the original amount because you keep that receipt until you can compare it to your bank statement, right, to make sure the numbers are correct. And everything's fine with that transaction. But what has happened to your credit or debit card? It's been used because they captured that number and the security code. There is the ability for people who are sophisticated criminals to create, using a credit card blank, another card. Because we've had cases where, and they're all over, cases where somebody's had their card in their possession and a physical card was used somewhere. So not, the online or the over the phone use of the card, but somebody's gone into a store and physically swiped a card, and the person who owns the card has that card in their possession still. Yes, sir?
That happened to me 2 weeks ago.
With the physical swipe?
Someone up in Maryland had a physical copy of my credit card, and USAA caught it, and they canceled it and sent me another card.
So the thing that I recommend restaurant-wise is, well, one of the things, and I do these myself. Most of the stuff I say I don't have enough money to be taken for, but I do these myself. I don't use my bank card unless it's a real emergency in a drive-through, because that's the other version of that, a fast food drive-through. When you hand them your card through that window, they have you at their mercy right then. You're in your car, and really, they normally just swipe it real quick and hand it back to you. But they can do it, and they can shut the window, turn around, use a pencil and trace out your card. They've got that much time, write down the number, whatever. It's funny, but they have you at that point. So you want to keep your card in your possession as much as you can. So this is the one time that I recommend that people get cash, unless you can do my second version, or my second alternative, is to get enough cash right before you go to the restaurant, find out how much the meals generally cost, get enough cash to cover your meal before you go to the restaurant, and pay in cash to be safe. The second version is if you're, I don't know if this is bold enough, I think it's all right to do that, although it's probably not socially acceptable. When it's time to pay for your meal, I'll walk with you over to swipe my card. I've had issues with my card being compromised. 2 weeks ago, I just had a bad experience with my card, and I'm not going to let it out of my sight anymore, so I'll walk with you to wherever your workstation, and I'll take my card back or give you my card when we get there. I've used the excuse, we went with the soccer team, and I didn't have cash with me when we got to the restaurant. And so I said, when it was time for the check to come, we're going to leave really quickly, and I need to go get the car and pull it up. So I'll just go with you and sign my ticket as we go. And so I went up, signed my ticket, and went back and sat back down with the group. So I had to have a little line, not that rude. We're not that bold. But really, whatever works for you, it's your card, it's your money. No matter what you do, though, is make sure that you're checking your bank statements. Now, credit card, if you're victimized, then a credit card, you're using the bank's money. So it doesn't come out of your money, and as long as you're checking your statements and you report transactions that aren't yours, they will probably send you an affidavit to sign to say, I didn't do those charges, and wipe the slate clean. Debit card, what happens? Your money gets taken right away, and then you have to do the affidavit, and you get reimbursed that money back in your account. So it's my preference when we go out of town, if I'm shopping online, if I'm using a card somewhere, I'm usually using my credit card. We have been victimized. That we went to Virginia Beach, and this is funny. My son and I are outside unloading the car, and my wife and daughter, my daughter was 8 years old then, they go in and check in, and they come back out, and my daughter says, "Dad, that lady behind the counter looks shady." And I laughed and said, "What do you know about being shady?" And so my son says the same thing, he laughs at her. And so we go about our business, and my wife used our debit card. It's kind of a long story, but that's the only card she had with her when the team manager asked for card information to reserve our rooms. And so she used a debit card to reserve the room, and so she used a debit card when she checked in. The rest of our trip in Virginia Beach was all credit card. And so checkout time, my son goes with my wife and daughter because they wanted to leave me to load all the luggage by myself, and he learned from getting there. So they all go. And my son comes back out, who's 6 years older, so he's 15, and he says, "Dad, she's right. That lady behind the counter did look shady." She's not checking them out. She had checked them in, but she was behind the counter when they checked in, and my daughter pointed her out. And so we get back, and one of the kids has soccer practice off of Jeff Davis, and my wife drops them off, goes to Target to get coffee. I'm at work, and she goes to the Starbucks inside the Target, and I get a call at work because her transaction didn't go through for it's Starbucks, so probably a $20 cup of coffee. Her $5 cup of coffee didn't go through, and so I get the angry phone call. "What have you bought?" "I'm at work, I can't buy anything." And she said, "Well, I just tried to use the card and it didn't work at Target or at Starbucks to buy coffee." I said, "I just checked the account this morning and we had enough money this morning, certainly to get coffee at the Starbucks." And so I checked the voicemail for the house, and the credit union had left a voicemail saying, "Please call us as soon as possible regarding your account." So before I called the number that was left on the phone, I did what? I checked. I went online and found the number for the credit union and called. And sure enough, somebody was using, sort of like your situation, somebody was using our card at a Target in Virginia Beach. Just about the same time, she tried to use the card at the Target in Chester. And so they canceled the card. That transaction had gone through in Virginia Beach first. So they got $270-some from us. And we got new cards. So surely it was the person who checked us in at the hotel who was responsible for it. We had to fill out an affidavit saying that we didn't charge it and got our money back. So the lesson in that is to always use a credit card, because then none of our money was taken.
What about gas stations?
The only one that I've seen in the county, there's no way you would have known it was there. The detective that worked the case, the county on the Chesterfield, I think they're changing or have changed this, but apparently, I don't know much about gas stations, but apparently the same key works all the gas pumps that are made by a certain manufacturer. So if you had that key, you could open the gas pump. So if somebody had a key, opened up the gas pump and put a skimmer inside of the gas pump and closed it and locked it. Because I asked our detectives, I was aware of a case that the skimmer was used at a gas station. And he said, there's nothing you can tell people to defend against this other than check their bank accounts. There's nothing external at the gas station on this example that would have let you know it was all internal. There's like part of a cell phone inside with a skimmer that was transmitting card numbers to people. Bank skimmers you're probably more likely to be able to tell. And so the advice, if you're using a bank ATM, anybody know it already? Very good. Going around good. So if you go to a different bank, then you always go to a regular bank. If it has something protruding from the ATM, just pull them. They're not going to make a machine that has a part that you could pull on that would fall off. If somebody's putting a skimming device on an ATM, then they need to be able to go back quickly and remove it and go to collect their skimming. they want to give that away. So typically they'll use double-sided tape and they'll stick it over the opening for the card to go in. And so your card passes through their skimming device into the ATM for your transaction. They collect those numbers and they'll use some kind of card holder, like a brochure holder, stuck to the front of the ATM with a pinhole camera. Why is that? Right, because they need your PIN. So in order to record your PIN, they have a camera facing the keypad to see which numbers you're pressing. So they're somewhere nearby typically. So if you run across that, then the thing to do is to call us immediately. If you happen to notice any cards that are occupied in the immediate area that look like somebody's sitting and waiting, then take off, call us. Don't go up and approach you and say, hey, is that your skimmer on the ATM over there? But get out of the area, notice as much about the vehicle as you can, or vehicles around there as you can, and give us a call and let us know what's going on. Yes, sir.
We had one at a restaurant one time, used a credit card. Got a bill from the credit card company that had two airline tickets on it. We called the credit card. We didn't do this. Whose name was on the ticket? They wouldn't tell me. You got to have a name on the ticket to fly. They would know exactly it was at a restaurant. Well, something else happened. The same, my brother was with me, he used his credit card. He got charged for parking in a parking lot at the airport. They got to know the name, why couldn't they tell?
So I'm guessing they reimbursed you the money? Yeah. Then at that point, the credit card company is the victim. Once they reimburse you, so it's on them to decide whether or not they want to pursue it or not. After you've been made whole, then you're no longer the victim in that situation. So they send you new credit cards and they reimburse you your account.
Well, if I knew the name, I'd go to the restaurant and say, hey, do you know this person?
I'm sure
And
they did.
again, you're not the victim at that point.
Phone calls about, I have heard about, especially grandparents or grandchild's been kidnapped. And there you are on the phone and immediately panicking. But they know some